Hello, my loves of my. Just looking for a little thing to light the candle, but I can't find one. Anyway, Moon Knight finale. Let's talk. Let's discuss, and let's also give you some life lessons from this incredible show that Marvel produced for us. They're keeping us well fed this week. We are very grateful, and you know the whole vibe here at Love and Fandom. The whole vibe is, why don't we use these series and these films that we're already watching to really be our best selves? So I'm going to give you 10 life lessons from Moon Knight, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. I'd love for you to drop into the comments or the chat and just give me one word that describes the Moon Knight finale. One word you'd use to describe the finale. I would say exquisite would be my word. I found it absolutely exquisite. Immaculate would be another word. Really, really spectacular show they produced. Absolutely obsessed with it. So I'm going to get started in a minute with the 10 life lessons, the 10 observations, the 10 themes and patterns that we can look at and help to understand ourselves better. But before I do, I will introduce myself. So if you are new here, welcome to Love and Fandom, where we believe that the relationships we see on the screen help us to understand ourselves at a deeper level and help us to have a better relationship with ourselves and everyone else in our lives. I'm Cheryl Muir. I'm a relationship expert, professional fangirl, full-time nerd, and a big fan of the Moon Knight, big fan. So let's crack on. I'm going to take these off because the light will hit it, and I'm just going to hope that I can see. We'll just continue on. So there are going to be spoilers throughout. The first thing I want to say is Layla. Layla's reveal, Layla stepping into her power, and really, well, she's been powerful all along, but really embodying her most powerful self. Now, this is interesting, right? Because this mirrors Stephen. Stephen's also now his most powerful self when he's in the suit, you know, psycho Colonel Sanders, when he's in that suit. He's now, you know, being sassy with Khonshu. He's certain his boundaries. Interesting parallel to Pam and Tommy. Got a whole series on that, where we saw Pammy starting to assert her boundaries, you know, with the lawyers. Similar sort of thing with Stephen here, although it's a completely different situation. He is asserting his boundaries with Khonshu, with this god, and saying, look, we're a package deal, so you're going to have to deal with me, whether you like it or not. So here I am. And he's obviously starting to fight now, and he's powerful. We love to see it. Marc's also stepping into his power, but in a slightly different way. So there's something he said to Layla about doing something together, or she said something about doing this together. And he said, hey, you know, that's not always been my strong suit. So in terms of relational styles, he's been really avoidant there. He's like, I'm kind of the lone wolf. I kind of like doing it on my own, but he's working with her, which leads me to point two. Point two is that Layla's relationship with him, there's two of him, so it makes it tough to analyze. Layla and Marc, and Layla and Stephen. Here's how you know it's a healthy relationship. Here's how you know it's a relationship that's good for them. Because they're becoming better as a result of their relationship. They're becoming a better version of themselves. The complete opposite is true with Thor and Jane, who I've talked about before. Thor and Jane seem to make each other worse. Somehow they seem to make each other worse and seem to bring out the worst in each other. Their lives start to get destroyed, and maybe that's not a direct result of the relationship, but if you're with someone and you take them to your hometown or home realm and your mother dies and then your brother dies within like a day of each other, or in the same day or the next day, yeah, it's probably not a good omen. Probably not a good omen. But we know this relationship is really, really solid. What do you think? What do you think about it? How did you observe Stephen and Layla and Marc and Layla? Did you think there was a different relationship by the end? Did it start to kind of appear the same? Marc and Stephen started to merge themselves, right? They are at peace with themselves now. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but still on point two. So Stephen says this really sweet thing when he sees Layla in her Taroet goddess outfit. And I'm so excited they worked together. It was amazing. And he says, wow, you look amazing. What are you wearing? And then he says, I'm really jazzed about showing these new skill sets that we have, and they work as a team. So we see them working as a team. They make a great team, good relationship. We love it. Point number three, life lesson number three, observation number three. Did anyone else notice this? Or have I just got an eye for this with Marvel? Because I think whoever's writing this, Kevin Feige, is it you? Kinky undertones. kinky undertones. We love to see it. We're a fan. Here's where I saw the kinky undertones, and anyone who's in the BDSM scene will have noticed this as well, which was when Harrow, was that his name right? Harrow? That's right, isn't it? My brain's melted after watching that episode. When he released Amit, and he's kneeling and he's saying, "Yes, my goddess," and she's putting her hand through his hair. I'm like, this is some dom sub shit right here. Like, if someone doesn't write fan fiction about this, we are doing a disservice to the fandom community. Like, very sexy, very kinky. So if you're watching that and you were feeling a certain kind of way, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and others, just know that you might have been thinking that and feeling that because maybe you have a preference for power play. So if you didn't know that about yourself, then what a revelation of self-awareness that is. Point 4. Okay, this is a bit existentialism and it might be a little far and I'm not really sure how to explain this. Point 4, what's your relationship to reality? I'd like you to start thinking about this and I'll explain what I mean by this in a second. This is a massive theme throughout. It started to give me feelings of and remind me of Joker. Did you pick up on that as well? It's this feeling of Arthur Fleck. You know, how much of what he's narrating is true? Is he a reliable narrator? What's true? What's not true? What's real? What isn't real? And it's still a little unclear. It's still a little muddy and murky. My theory since episode 4 has been that the psych ward is actually it's a holding area for the avatars, the human avatars that have been murdered in action in the process of being an avatar for a god. The psych ward is their holding area. Just like the gods have the holding area, they get put into the I'm so sorry for being culturally ignorant. I forget the name of it. They get put into the sculpture, the stone sculpture, and the avatars, the human avatars, go to the psych ward because it's something that they would understand, right? That's been my theory all along. Now, we're told it's the underworld, but then we're not really sure how much of this is real, how much is imagined. The whole footsteps of Harrow, the footsteps and the blood, we saw the opening scene, the opening images in episode 1 were of him putting glass into his shoes. So that grounds us into reality. So there's a lot to look at there in terms of what's real and what isn't real. Here's where I want to bring it to you though. Did you know that, and we're not talking about the identity disorder that he has, dissociative identity disorder. I'm not qualified to speak on that. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist. I'm a coach, albeit an experienced one, but that's really not my area of expertise. So we're not going to talk about that particular disorder. But what I do want to look at is how our version of reality and the way that we see things and the filter we see things through can be changed. And I'm sure you've had this experience. Let me know if you have. Let me know if you haven't as well. This experience where you see you're looking at the same thing and how you see it is completely different. It was Wayne Dyer that said, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So for example, if you have someone in your life and you're like, God, this person is such an idiot, right? You're going to see that. Your brain is going to look for that. And I'll explain why that is in a second. If you say, this person's trying their best, and they're doing the best they can, then you will see them trying their best. Or if you say, this person's great, they're doing great things, then that's what you will see. The reason for that is we have an operating system in our brain, which is kind of like a computer. And the operating system is the reticular activating system, or the RAS. And the way it works is that we have so much information that we take in. We cannot take on board and process and comprehend all of the information that we're seeing at once. It's too much. Our brain wouldn't be able to handle it. I'll give you an example of what that is. So right now I'm looking at the laptop. The Wi-Fi router's there. I've got my phone. There's some lip balm. There's the camera. Very sexy camera, by the way. We're loving the new camera. Plugged it into the MacBook. YouTube doesn't recognize it, so we're going to work on that. If anyone's techie, let me know how I do that. I'll have to Google it again. But I'm looking at that, so I'm thinking about that. Right, my brain went off over there thinking about that. I've got a mug here. I've got some water. I've got some flowers. That's connected to a personal event of mine. I had a birthday recently, so my brain's going to birthday. That's only what's on the desk. Behind me, I can see the books, and that makes me think about, my friend and her nan who used to have these books, and how I've been gifted them books, and how grateful I am. And just looking at these objects, I have an association with all these objects, and I'm taking it in. I'm like, okay, there's a backpack over there that my camera goes in, and then there's my closet in the corner there. I'm seeing a chair over there, and that chair, okay, I've got to go and get that sorted because the chair's broken, and all these things. So if we did that, we would go insane, right? I mean, many of us that have ADHD, like me, we do think a little bit like that. But the point is, we cannot take in everything. So if you look around your room now and consciously try and take in everything you're seeing and describe everything you're seeing, all the colors, all the shapes, all the objects, what the objects mean, what they're for, it's too much. So what the reticular activating system does is it filters it. And what it filters it through, the lens, the filter that it uses, is what we believe and what we know and what's familiar. So what that looks like is, have you ever suddenly heard of a band or a song? You've never heard of this band before, and then you start hearing them everywhere. You start seeing them everywhere, and you're like, how is this happening? They were there the whole time. That billboard on the bus shelter, or on the way to work, that was always there. You just didn't see it. So why is it that you're noticing it now, even though it's always been there? Because it's top of mind now. You're aware of it. Now, this is a really long explanation, but I feel like this is really important to understand. How do we then filter stuff through beliefs and awareness? So if we believe that, for example, the world's kind of a shitty place, our brain goes, okay, we believe the world's shitty. So the reticular activating system is going to filter that. It's going to take in everything, and it's going to see the one shitty thing. Whereas if we believe the world's a pretty good place, and everyone's, pretty good for the most part and doing their best and being kind, and, the humans mostly are pretty good, then we're going to look at the world, look at it through that lens of, actually, everyone's being really kind. Look at those things that are happening over there. Have you had that experience of sitting there with someone and someone has a completely different take on the same experience, right? You're sat there going, God, it's such a beautiful day. The sun's shining. It's amazing. And they're going, oh, look at that dog shit over there. Like, how are you even seeing the dog shit right now? The sun's shining. We're sat at a cafe, right? That's their filter. That's how they're filtering the information. They're looking for what's familiar. Another example is a bit more benign, but is relevant. If you were in a room full of people and someone said, close your eyes, mention one item of clothing that someone's wearing. You might say, oh, there's a guy in the front that's wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins t-shirt. And someone else might say, oh, there's someone over there that's wearing a beautiful red dress. Why is it they're picking them out? Because those things have a relevance to them. There might be someone that doesn't even see the Pittsburgh Penguins t-shirt because they don't even know what the Penguins are, right? They were raised in Australia. They don't know what hockey is. And the person that's picking out the dress, maybe they see that because they were looking at a red dress when they went to a shop earlier on that day. So our brains are constantly picking up what's familiar, and we can change that, right, by focusing on different things. So actually, our reality is really subjective. So I know that's a little bit mind-bending, but it's true. And how we see the world can really be shaped by our level of awareness and our mood as well, right? How we see the world when we're pissed off is very different to how we see the world when we're in a really good mood and having a really good day. So, long explanation, but what is your relationship to reality? Also, on that same line, I want you to look at in the series, watch episode 6 again. Look at what's real and what's not real. Is there anything in this series that maybe seems fictional or you feel might contain a slither of truth? I'll give an example of that, and I'm also going to talk about the soul later on. Is there anything in there that you think is true? So it might be, actually, I think we can connect with the gods or the higher power, higher power. I don't think that they embody us. I think if there's an entity that's trying to take over your body, it's probably not benevolent. It's probably a bit demonic. If some kind of entity wants your body, I'd think about saging that. You know what I mean? I'd think about doing some meditations and calling in the white light. That's not good. It's not good generally. But is there anything in there that you think is true? Like, yeah, I do think it's true actually that we can speak to a higher power. Maybe it's not that, but just look at it through that lens of, is there anything in here that's being presented as fiction, but that I feel actually has truth in it? And depending on your background, your culture, your upbringing, and your belief system, that's going to be different for all of us. I'm not going to preach on what you should believe, but I'd like you to look at what it is that you believe. All right, relationship to reality, super important, because it colors everything that you experience. It colors your entire life, how you see things, how you view things, how you feel about things, and we can change that. I'm not saying it's easy by any means. There's all kinds of different things that people are dealing with, but we can change that. All right, we're gonna have a sip of water, then we're gonna move on to point number 5. Point number 5 is gonna be about the scales. Do we also like my water bottles on brand? I bought it in Morrison's the other day. It was on sale. I was so excited. It's glass and it's got the silicone on it, and because I'm very tactile, and it might be the ADHD, I don't know, but I just like things that feel nice. I'm very excited about the water bottle. And we need to be hydrated. Top tip for life. Point number 5, the scales are balanced. So this whole idea of the scales being balanced, Tarot says your heart is full. Your journey is over. The peace you've always wanted but never had, you're manifesting it. Manifesting. Love that they mentioned manifestation. So this idea of when you reach a certain point in your journey, like your karmic scales will be balanced, like you'll have learned the lessons you need to learn, which means like your relationships start to become easy. Your friends are really supportive and sweet. You've built this life where life feels really good. Your job's going well. You feel happy and peaceful in yourself, right? Your heart is full. Your journey is over. Now, I don't think our journey is ever over. But in that sense, they were talking about his soul's journey, and his life was over and his journey was over. So that's how they were framing it. When she said the peace you've always wanted but never had, what is that for you? I know I'm asking you a lot of questions today, but take as much on as you can. What is the peace you've always wanted but never had? What area of your life do you want to find peace in? Is it your relationships? Is it the way you feel about yourself? Is it your confidence, your self-worth? Is it your relationship with your body, how it looks, how it feels? Is it making peace with someone from your past? Which, by the way, when you're making peace with someone from your past, you don't necessarily have to do that with them. You can do forgiveness work and really try and understand what happened without having to reach out to them necessarily. What is it you want to find peace in? And then you will be manifesting it. We love Tarot. She's such a wise goddess. We love her. Point number 6. So let's talk about the bit where Stephen's in the sand and he's going to be resurrected. Who was it on my Twitter that said, don't worry, Stephen's not dead. He's probably not going to be dead. I actually thought he was. They tricked me. It reminds me a little bit like this parallels to like the Loki series where we think Mobius has been pruned and think, shit, Loki's been pruned. And we're like, okay, if Loki's been pruned, clearly pruning doesn't kill people because we know Loki doesn't die. But that moment when Mobius is pruned and we're like, oh shit, but then actually he's gone to the void. Similar kind of thing here. We thought that Stephen was dead, frozen in time. And Marc says, yeah, I'm not good with that. I'm not good with staying here in the field of reeds for all eternity while he's frozen. I'm not good with that. He goes back to Stephen and, he makes a little joke about how he looks, but then he says, there's no way I'm going to abandon you. Because, we covered this in the video for episode 5, Stephen represents his child self. So this line of there's no way I'm going to abandon you, that's our work with our inner child self, vulnerable emotions, like however you want to understand it. Our work is to say to that part of us that's scared, frightened, that feels small, that feels vulnerable. Our work is to say, I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to leave you. I'm here. I've got you. We call that reparenting. But we have to be with ourselves. And when we start having those moments, those freakouts of, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, we say, I've got you. You can do this. I'm not going to abandon you. And then we feel what we feel. we allow ourselves to feel what we feel rather than grabbing the phone, going on the social media machines, numbing out. Various different ways in which we can numb out. I did it for years. I can recommend a few ways. No, just kidding. We have to feel what we feel. The only way out is through, as they say. It's cliche because it's true. So Stephen represents his child self, and he more or less says that. He says something like, you were like you're my safety. I can't remember his exact words, but he basically says, you were there to provide safety for me, so I'm going to protect you now. Beautiful moment, incredible. Point number 7, the soul. The soul. So I found this really interesting. I saw some parallels here with another area of the MCU. Let me know if you noticed it as well. The soul, we see, I found that scene really chilling actually, when the souls were leaving the body and we saw the purple light, and we see Amet, I haven't said that right, have I at all? The crocodile goddess, she's consuming the light of these souls. That's not a benevolent higher force. If they're eating souls, bit of a red flag. If your higher power eats souls, just might want to take a note of that. It's not ideal. It's not an ideal way to operate as a god or a goddess. Not that I'd know, but maybe in future lifetimes some of us will be gods and goddesses. And try not to eat people's souls. It's not the done thing, not really. But what I thought was interesting was we see this in another area of the MCU. We see it in, my specialist subject is the Thor trilogy. Or the Thor quad something. There's going to be 4, as we know. We see this in Thor: The Dark World, when Frigga is murdered, and there's that scene that just rips your heart out, where there's her ceremony, her funeral, which, by the way, they should have let Loki go to. Tangent for another time. And when she is about to drop off the waterfall at the end of Asgard, because apparently it's like a flat Earth thing. I don't know. It's flat, but she falls down the vessel that's carrying her falls, and we see her soul leave her body, and it cuts to Heimdall, and he's crying. And at this point, I'm usually shaking and sobbing because I think it's so beautiful and so magnificent and so well done. So there's that idea of light leaving the body. We see this as well in Thor Ragnarok, when Odin dies and he turns into this kind of gold mist, if you will. So my question to you, we're going real deep, so the existentialism, but what do you think that represents? What do you think happens? Do you believe in the soul? Do you think that the soul does leave the body? And we say that as a joke, don't we? Oh my God, this episode was so good, my soul almost left my body. But what do you think? What do you think about it? Do you think we have a soul? Do you think we come back? Do you think we reincarnate? What do you think? I know I think, but what do you think? And by the way, the whole vibe here is we just want to get to know ourselves deeper. We're not debating each other on this. We're going to be respectful of what we all think. What do you think? Let me know. I do think as well, it's quite interesting that it's getting to this point in Moon Knight where no one's dying. Not really. No one actually dies, it seems. In that, despite what I just said about the soul, it reminds me of Gotham on Fox, which was my show. It was so personal to me. Nobody died there in the end. Doesn't anyone die in this town anymore? No, they're just going to be resurrected, just like Stephen was resurrected. So I think it's interesting when you start creating this dynamic in a show where no one dies or people can come back to life. Creates a very interesting plot device because, yeah. I remember a scene in Gotham where Oswald was shot, and Riddler dumps him in the river. Ed Nigma dumps him in the river, and literally on Twitter afterwards, people were like, "He's not dead. I know he's not dead. You're not going to kill him off." So he died a couple times as well, and people are like, "I know he's not dead." So yeah, so Stephen came back to life, and we love that. So I love how Marvel does that. They're dead. No, they're not. Are they really dead? I don't know. Black Widow is really dead, though, isn't she? I think I was a bit denial about that, but that's another topic for another time. Point number 8. Point number 8 is free will. So again, I see some parallels here with other series in Marvel. I love how they do this. It's so smart. It's so clever and so well done. I don't know if it's Kevin Feige that is the mastermind behind all of this, or if it's the writer. I don't know who it is that's can be credited, probably not just one person, but the way they did this was absolutely exceptional. I loved how they talked about judging and the scales, and this idea of, you can't judge someone before they've committed the crime. And this Khonshu speaking to Ahmet about, I'm about vengeance and seeking vengeance when someone's wronged. And she says, well, I just do it before they've committed it. And he says something about free will. Did you notice the parallels there? Free will. Where else have we heard free will? In the TVA, in the Loki series, and also in the Wanda series at Westview. I have to bring that back from the dark recesses of my mind. Westview, right? Free will. You can't fuck with free will. It's not a thing. You can't fuck with people's free will. It's very bad. Very bad. Historically not great. You don't mess with people's free will. So that's another indication that some things maybe not on the right side of things if it's messing with people's free will. There's some slight nuances to this, but generally speaking, going against free will, not good, not great. What else did I want to say about this? Oh, the points are going to get a bit messed up here, guys, because it is what it is. Hang on, I'm just going to make notes. Sorry. All over the shop here. That was about vengeance. Okay. Okay, it's gonna be like 13 points. Right. Point number 9. I thought it was, okay, let's just go back. Rewind. So free will. So I just want you to kind of look at that. Whenever free will is being messed with, just be aware of it. Just be aware and notice that as a theme in some of the Marvel films. I'm sure that in the multiverse that's going to come up again, this idea of everyone having a choice. And this is why this idea of destiny is not quite accurate, because someone can have this life path to do great things, and they can choose to piss it up the wall, and that's their free will choice. So the destiny and fate is something that I don't subscribe to, because I think there's multiple different realities and outcomes and timelines, and we get to choose that with our actions, our beliefs, our energy, what we choose to do, our habits, practical actions that we take. Like, we're actually very much in control of that, which is also why I didn't agree with the idea in the Loki series that his purpose is to make other people better and that his purpose is to suffer. No one's purpose is to suffer. And I really hope in season 2 of Loki, we see him having some kind of peace and contentment. Though if we're still in phase 4 at that point, phase 4 is trauma. We all know this. Phase 4 is trauma. What did I see on Twitter today? Phase 1 to 3, Thanos. Phase 4, trauma. Phase 5, redemption, joy, happiness. Maybe it's just Loki at a meditation retreat, just chilling out. I don't know. So yeah, so this idea that Loki is here to suffer, not the vibe. He has a free will choice too. He can choose who he wants to be. Mobius tells him this. Point number 9. Let's talk about shifting. Reality shifting, made infamous by the Gen Z generation. You beautiful young souls. Shifting is quite a profound thing. I did a video on it. And shifting in and of itself is totally benign. Most things are fairly benign. It's how we use it and what we do with it. For example, money. Money is a benign thing. We have a lot of ideas around what it is, what it could be, but it is something that can be used for good or something that can be used for bad. Good people do good things with it, and bad people do bad things with it. I'm making it a bit binary, like good and bad, but you get what I mean. We can use resources in a certain way. Now, with shifting, it could be something that really enriches your life experience and teaches you these really spiritual tools and techniques of the quantum realm. It's really advanced stuff you're learning if you're mastering shifting. It can also be a way that you're escaping the difficult things that are going on in your life. It could be both. So just look at your relationship to shifting. The reason I mention shifting is because it seems to me Marc shifted from the psych ward to his old apartment at the end. He says to Harrow, I don't think you know as much as you think you do, Doc. Was it Jake? Was he Jake at that point? Let's not go there. And he chooses to shift. Now, there's many different things I could say about this, and I think it's complicated. But what I do know is that we can shift in any moment. We can shift and make a different decision to do something different, do something better, be a different person, be a different version of ourselves. And I know that that's a little bit like, ooh, the dark elves. Like, it's a bit like intangible. What that really means is you can shift in a moment and make a different decision. You shift in the moment that instead of calling someone an asshat on social media, you go, I'm just going to take a breath. And you decide not to engage in that, or you say something kinder instead. I don't mean just go around like being kind to people that are nasty. I mean, in that moment, we can shift and be the person we used to be, or we can shift and be the person we want to be, and just say thanks for sharing, have a good day, and just walk away. We can choose to apologize. We can choose to make amends. We can choose to look at the things we've done and learn from it. Right? That's shifting as well. That's also shifting. So, point 10. I think I mentioned this. I'll just run through it really quick. What's your relationship with the gods and the divine? Marvel loves mythology, and I love that we got Egyptian mythology here. I'm really not that familiar with it, but I really found it fascinating. I just want you to look at your relationship with things that are archetypal, higher powers, all that good shit. Do you think it's real? Do you think it's maybe just a guide? Do you think it's a tool? What do you think? What do you think? What is your higher power? You don't have to share it with us. Just ask yourself that and get clear on, or at least I say get clear on like it's easy. It's not. It's very complicated. But just start that process of getting curious about who you believe in. If you don't believe in a higher power, that's okay. I respect that. I would still try and look for something that's bigger than you, because I think it helps our experience on Earth be a bit of an easier one. So I think for many people that are atheists, maybe your relationship is something bigger than yourself or outside of yourself that really helps you. It might be nature. Nature's this thing that's almost intangible because it has this consciousness, right? A tree knows when to grow, flowers know when to bloom, all of that stuff. The animals know when to start breeding. Or it might be animals, the natural world, right? Dogs, cats, whatever, animals you like being around. I know they're not higher power, but there's something outside of ourselves we can really connect with and help on our journey. Point 11. Okay. What's your relationship with your own strength and your most powerful self? I love what happened with Layla. God, so many people are going to be cosplaying that. She looked amazing. I saw that and I'm like, yes, we get Egyptian Wonder Woman. And she did Wonder Woman the shit out of someone. So happy about it. So I loved that. I loved how she had this archetypal power. One of the reasons why, we all love cosplay is because we get to embody that. So what's your relationship with your own strength and your most powerful self? When do you feel like your most powerful self? And sometimes, by dressing up as other people, we can borrow some of their strength and some of their confidence. So just something to explore. 12, vengeance. I feel like it's the Batman all over again. I am vengeance. So what's your relationship to vengeance? We know Khonshu's relationship to it. Marc's relationship to vengeance changes at the end, right? He's like, do it yourself. Jake does it. Jake is like, I'm going to kill you in Spanish. But what's your relationship to vengeance? If something bad happens, do you feel like you want to get revenge? Like you want to even the score? You want to balance the scales yourself? Or do you instead, go through a process of being like, okay, this pissed me off. I'm going to figure out what happened and just grow from it. It's not easy to do, I know. But I say that because I used to have a relationship with vengeance where, like, if something bad happens, Scorpio rising here, Scorpio South Node also. I had a vengeful streak when I was in my 20s, and it wasn't good, it wasn't healthy for me. Made me very sick. So what's your relationship to like getting your own back? And is that something you maybe want to change or just become aware of? It's up to you. You have free will. 13th and final point is the merging of the selves and the relationship with the selves. So I specifically want to focus on Marc and Stephen, who really were fighting each other in the start, like almost literally. they were battling each other for possession of the body, and now of course they're separate entities, but it's interesting to me how they're at peace with one another. So my question to you, you can probably predict it because I'm kind of setting this up here, but and it's also obvious, and you probably know my style, but like, what's your relationship with the different parts of yourself, and how can you start to merge them? So an example would be, some of you might be new here and you might not know, and that's okay. I don't expect you to know, but I haven't always been like this. I used to be a very professional relationship expert on like Radio 1 and Heart Radio and mainstream media and all these things, and that's amazing. But I felt like I had to be in this little box. So I had my professional self with like my work hat on, and then I had private Cheryl, who was like more of a fangirl, and I loved all these Marvel films, and I just like kind of wanted to hide it because I thought I'm a professional, I can't show that side of me, right? So I've started to merge those selves. I've started to, sorry, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm just going to shift, shifting. I've started to merge those sides of myself by asking myself, like every week or most days really, what can I do to bring work Cheryl and private Cheryl like closer together? How can I bring over a bit of that? I was working with a coach, we called it Tumblr Cheryl, because, you know, fangirl stuff. How can I bring Tumblr Cheryl over to work Cheryl and vice versa? Like, how can I start to merge the two so that I feel more whole and complete in myself, and just like, it just feels easier, it just feels better, it just feels more honest, rather than feeling like I'm living a double life. I know that's not always possible for everyone. There's a certain amount of privilege in my position, I know. But where are you hiding parts of yourself? What parts of yourself are you hiding? And in which environments are you hiding parts of yourself? Do you want to continue to do that? It depends on the situation. Sometimes if we're with family or people that maybe we don't feel like we want to reveal those parts of ourselves in that environment, whether it's, you know, at work, we don't want to talk about our personal life, or with family, we want to keep a certain part of ourselves back, or whatever it is for you. It depends what your relationship with these people are. But generally speaking, we want to be fairly consistent, right, with who we are in all areas of our life. Otherwise, we do that fragmented self thing where we're like a different person at work and at home and with friends and at the gym, and we're kind of being a chameleon. I used to do that for a long time, so I know all about that. And we do that to keep ourselves safe. It's also called eclipsing. I did some comments in Metro a couple of weeks ago. If I can find it, I tell you what, just Google Cheryl Muir Metro or Cheryl Muir eclipsing and it'll come up. And I talked about eclipsing, and it's basically when we pretend to be like the person we have a crush on, or the person we're dating, or the person we're in a relationship with. We pretend to like their music and like their pastimes, and you might think, oh, so what? Like, it's not a big deal if you pretend to like the same things as someone. But like, actually, you can lose yourself, and then you can start to lose your values and your identity, and you start to believe the same things they believe. And the reason that's so dangerous, there's so many things. But if that relationship ends, or when that relationship ends, because it's obviously it's not going to be good for you, so it will end at some point, then guess what happens? Your identity goes with them because you forgot who the fuck you are. Been there, right? So because of that, it's really important that we know who we are, and we're honest about who we are, and we share who we are as much as we can, and as much as feels safe for you in your particular specific life situation. It's a decision you have to make. We make choice on what we share, and when we can be fully ourselves and we can be loved for that, it's a beautiful thing. Otherwise, you're being loved for the character that you're playing, and it doesn't feel quite the same, because they're loving the mask and you're like, surprise motherfuckers, because you're under there, you know. So the merging of the selves. Oh, guys, thank you for being here. If you've made it all the way to the end, I would love for you to type the word authentic in the comments below, so I know you made it to the end. I'm going to do a really quick recap, have another slurp of water, and then after this, to be completely honest, I'm going to take my makeup off and get in my pajamas, have a bite to eat. Well, I've already had dinner, to be honest. I'm going to pack my gym bag for tomorrow, and then I'm probably going to go to sleep, because that's the kind of life I live. Very exciting life I have. Actually, I'm sort of joking. I do have a really beautiful time with friends, but during the week I'm really boring because I'm very old. So to recap, 1, Layla embodying her most powerful self. So is Stephen. He's fighting as Moon Knight, as Psycho Colonel Sanders. And Marc, now he's learning how to work with other people. He's being powerful. It takes a lot of power for a very avoidant person to let someone in. 2, Layla and Marc, Layla and Stephen, their relationship, we know it's good for them because it makes them better. They become a better version of themselves as a direct result of their relationship with one another. 3, the kinky undertones. We love to see it. We love that shit, Marvel, you kinky fucks. The kinky undertones, the kneeling, my goddess, hand through the hair. Just know if you saw that and you felt a certain kind of way, you're probably kinky too. So just something to think about, something to think about in it. That accent was almost as good as Stephen's. 4, what's your relationship to reality? Not an easy question to answer. We have the reticular activating system that is our filter for viewing everything. We can change that through our beliefs, etc. And also just look at what in the series contains slithers of truth for you. Not everything we see in a series like that is fictional. There's bits of truth here and there, right? So we have to pick out what we feel is true. 5, the scales are balanced. Your heart is full. Your journey is over. The peace you've always wanted but never had, you're manifesting it. Where do you need to find peace in your life? What do you need to be at peace with? How do you balance your own scales? Asking all the hard-hitting questions today. 6, there's no way I'm going to abandon you. Stephen represents Marc's child self. He's not going to abandon him. So how can you be with your little one, your child self? How can you make sure that you don't abandon them, that you're there for them, that you're their parent now, right? Just Google or put into YouTube Cheryl Muir inner child. Cheryl Muir, that's me. Hi, I'm Cheryl. Put Cheryl Muir inner child and my meditations will come up, or someone else's meditation also. I did a really great one the other day. I'm happy to share it with you. So how can you connect to that inner child and be with them so that you don't abandon them? Because that helps us to feel safe in our relationships, in our life. 7, the soul. The soul leaving the body. What do you think about that? Do you think that represents the soul? Do you believe in the soul? What's the soul to you? All the questions. And we also talked about some of the parallels there between Thor the Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, and how the soul leaves the body. 8, free will. So we talked about the parallels between Moon Knight and Loki and Wanda, those series where free will was a theme. Are we going to see that in Multiverse of Madness? Let's find out. I will be obviously analysing the fuck out of Multiverse of Madness on Friday. I still haven't bought my ticket. I must do that. 9, shifting. He shifts from the psych ward to his old apartment. We shift. Reality shifting is a thing. Shift talk you may have heard of. You may be a shifter yourself. And even if you don't know about the shifting realities thing, which is a very advanced spiritual principle, by the way. I know you're just doing it to go to Asgard or the Avengers compound or Hogwarts. More power to you. I actually tried it and I shifted to Asgard. It was fucking profound. I don't know how to explain that because I couldn't actually control what anyone else did. It was like real life, but I don't know how to explain it. I do not know how to explain it. It was fucking profound. And we can also shift in every moment. We can make a different decision and we shift. It reminds me of Sliding Doors, the old Gwyneth Paltrow / Pepper Potts movie. In that moment, we make a different decision. We can end up in a completely different place. Like the flight that takes off 1 degree out, instead of going to New York, they land in Florida, right? That degree difference, that's also shifting. You're making a different decision of, do I go this way? Do I go that way? Don't let that stress you out, by the way. Just know that we can shift by making a decision. We can just ask ourselves, what would my best self do? What's the best decision here? Not what feels good in the moment, but the whole thing of do some things today your future self will thank you for. It's a cliche, but it's true. So that's shifting. 10, your relationship with the gods and the divine. I think we touched on that in another point, but what do you believe in? Even if it's just nature or the natural world or animals or David Attenborough, maybe he's your higher power. Understandable. Pretty sure he's a divine being. But just knowing that you can lean on something outside of yourself if you wish to, or don't if you don't. 11, your relationship with your own strength and your most powerful self. Where do you feel strongest in your life? What's the moment where you feel you're strongest and you're most powerful? Where are you really in your element? How can you do more of that? How can you surround yourself with more people who help you be that? Important stuff. 12, what's your relationship with vengeance? Do you want to get your own back, or are you kind of chill? And 13, the merging of the selves. We saw Marc and Stephen really have a great relationship with themselves. Now Jake's in the picture. Season 2 is going to be interesting. But how do you start to merge the different aspects of yourself together so you're a whole healed human being, rather than being who other people want you to be, and being this person in this area of your life and this person over here, and eclipsing by pretending to be like the people you're around and being a chameleon, because probably at one point you had to be like that to survive. Trying to not knock my flowers over. Good job I didn't light that candle, because I would have just set my arm on fire. So can you see that the decisions we make have an impact? Had I found that, the lighter thing that I talked about at the start of the video, I would be on fire right now. The world works in mysterious ways. So yeah, the final point there, point number 13, was merging the selves, being at peace with the different facets of yourself. That's not fucking easy, let me tell you. It's a journey. So I really enjoyed talking about this. I hope you enjoyed it too. This video is a bit longer than normal, but you know, I might do videos like this in the future, because especially when we have a series like this where there's a lot to break down, I think it's important, and I think it's important to understand these series, and because Marvel is not paying for our therapy in phase 4, I feel like we need to do it ourselves at this point. I do also think they do need to either reunite Thor and Loki in Love and Thunder, or give us access to better help. I think that's what needs to happen. The sun needs to shine on them again. But seriously, like, we're all watching these anyway. Like, why don't we just watch them, enjoy it, and also live our best lives at the same time? Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I've been Cheryl Muir. This has been Love and Fandom. I will be live on Friday for my analysis of Doctor Strange. Very excited about this. It is all going to be a theme, I think, of his relationship with his other facets of himself. That's going to be a big theme that we're going to see. Very excited to talk about it. If you like the video, please click like on the video, comment, let me know what you liked most about this. Comment down below with your biggest realizations and biggest takeaways, biggest breakthroughs, realizations about yourself. And also, if you want to, comment with the action step that you're going to take. Only share what you're comfortable sharing, because this is the internet and it is public, but I'd love for you to share your biggest realization, the moment where you went, oh shit, yeah, that actually really hit home, and then the action step you're going to take as a result of that. Or if you don't want to share that, then just ask yourself those questions. You know what to do. Subscribe, ring the bell for more if you like what I do. I would love the support, so it helps me to reach more people. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time, and remember, you are absolutely worthy of love.